With Tommy Edman's impending return, do the Cardinals still need another bat? And if so, who might be some of their targets? That's what we're going to talk about today on Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Now, you can follow me on Twitter X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, 10,000 strong and growing. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that. Be sure to comment and interact with us and hit that notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. When talking about improvements for the St. Louis Cardinals roster, we have talked about the need for pitching. Both rotation and bullpen can never have enough arms, right? Keep them coming. Bring them all in. But another area that the Cardinals could use a little help in, as odd as it sounds, would be in the outfield. Now, I know what you're thinking, but JD, the Cardinals, don't they have too many outfielders? Isn't that the problem? I mean, that's what we were told was the problem for many years now, right? The too many good outfielders, so many to go around. We don't know what to do with them. So that's why they got rid of a lot of these guys. You know, they moved on from Randy Arozarena, Adolis Garcia, Lane Thomas, Harrison Bader, Tyler O'Neill, you know. So why now? Why is it all of a sudden, wait a minute, now we could use another outfielder? Well, here's what. The outfield as of today, July the 12th, consists of Brendan Donovan, Michael Ciani, Alec Burleson, Lars Nootbaar, and Dylan Carlson. Only one of those guys hits from the right side of the plate, and that's Dylan Carlson. Now, Carlson, in his career, has been a better right-handed hitter than left-handed. But this year, he isn't really hitting from either side all that well. Granted, small sample size. I get the argument that a lot of people say that, well, he's not going to be very good because he never gets to play. How's he supposed to get better if he's not playing? I understand that. But when he does get opportunities, he's not doing a whole lot with them. He's hitting just 184 against righties, 210 against lefties. The OPS plus is 48. It's bad. The Cardinals have right-handed hitting Jordan Walker at Memphis still. But as I've said before, you're not going to bring him up and then put him in a Dylan Carlson type role where he doesn't play. He's not going to be a bench bat for you the way Dylan Carlson is right now. He's not going to be a spot starter. You need this dude to keep playing and hitting every day. Was listening to, what was I listening to yesterday where they were talking about how they thought that maybe, I think it was on ESPN 1530. Where they were talking about, who screwed up Jordan Walker's swing, and that maybe the way the Cardinals have done things has become a problem, and they've messed him up, which I hope is not the case. I really don't. He's still a big piece of the organization's future, and I don't believe that they would dangle him as trade bait right now either. I've seen some people asking about that. I don't think that's the case either. I'd be shocked and kind of appalled, to be honest, if they did something that drastic and got rid of Jordan Walker. It just wouldn't make sense for you to do that. You know, it's not like, first off, it's not like his stock is real high right now either, because he's not crushing the ball at Memphis. He's not terrible, but he's not crushing it the way we thought he was going to. But the Cardinals do have a guy coming back who is a right-handed hitter and a left-handed hitter, and can play outfield and infield. And his name is Tommy Edman. Now, Tommy Two Bags, he's been on the mend for a very long time from that wrist surgery that he had in the offseason. And on Tuesday night, he made his return to action for Double-A Springfield. He went 1 for 3 in the game with a single. He lined out. He struck out. Had the day off on Wednesday due to general soreness, which gave us all a little bit of a scare because at first he was set to play center field, and then he got pushed down to DH, and then he was scratched all together. We're all like, oh, boy, what happened? But general soreness, he was back on the field on Thursday, goes 1 for 3 with a single and 2 strikeouts and a walk. And it seems like Edman is on the path to returning to the team after the All-Star break, which is what I've been saying since day one. If he was going to come back, don't expect him until at least the All-Star break, if he comes back at all. Because the way things were going, he was having some issues with the wrist, and I was afraid that we weren't going to get him at all. But it looks like he's going to return, and what a return it would be for this team, because you'd be getting a guy who's not only been a huge part of the Cardinals' success over the years, but he's versatile, Gold Glove winner on the infield, Gold Glove caliber defense in the outfield. He can play all 3 spots out there if need be. I mean, imagine late game defensive setups with Tommy Edman, Michael Ciani, and then Newt Ordani out there. He's got speed. He's the switch hitter. So he gives you something from both sides of the plate, who just so happens to hit the ball better as a right-hander over his career. As a righty, he's batting .277, OPS plus of 119. As a lefty, .261, OPS plus of 93. So what would someone, this is what I want you to think about, because I know it's not, because you hate hearing, hey, it's like making a trade. One of your guys getting healthy and coming back. But think about this for a moment. If there was a Tommy Edman type of player available through trade right now, what would somebody like that be worth? With Edman's background, his talents, what would that be worth on the trade market right now if he was available? Probably a hefty price, right? So it's not like you're getting some scrub back that isn't worth something to every other team in the league. So if he can be fully healthy, remain healthy, which is a big deal, and be the guy that we've been used to seeing over the years with, a knack for coming up in the clutch and bring all of these things that Tommy Edman normally does. If he's able to do all that the way he always has, what a huge acquisition it would be. I mean, you're getting an outfielder and an infielder. You're getting a righty and a lefty hitter. Now, does that mean that the Cardinals should just stop looking for another bat? Of course not. Of course not. Injuries and things happen. I mean, how long is Lars Nootbaar going to stay healthy? Is Tommy going to stay healthy? We don't know. Things pop up all the time. Remember the projected starting outfield for 2024 was supposed to be Lars Nootbaar in left field, Tommy Edman in center field, and Jordan Walker in right field. And that lineup has never happened this year. It has never happened and probably is not going to happen at any point this year. Because I don't know if Jordan Walker is going to make it back up to the roster, barring any sort of major injuries. So it never hurts to be on the lookout for something else, right? Like, just keep your eyes open, keep browsing. So that's what I want to get into next. Who are some of these bats that are going to be available at the trade deadline that people are talking about? There are trade rumor circles speaking about these guys. Who are some of these names? I'm going to introduce you to a couple of them. I got one in particular that I really like coming from the AL West. He's somebody I kind of have my eye on. I think he'd be a great Cardinal. We'll talk about him and the rest of these guys more next on Locked On Cardinals. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is being brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn a little bit more about. And yes, we're even talking about your rival cities, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Milwaukee. Some cool places to go. They got some really neat stadiums in those places. So with hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, all of that is available and so much more at Booking.com. So if you want to get to one of those cities and you want to see the Cardinals play, it's going to be fun down the stretch here as they compete for a playoff spot. It's going to be some good baseball to watch. It'd be cool to go on a little road trip during the summer, right? So Booking.com is where you can find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city. Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. And let's not forget about the little guys and girls, the Little League tournaments. that I'm sure as a parent, you've been, trekking all over the Midwest, taking your kids to them in different cities this summer. Booking.com has got you covered there as well. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. So book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. Going to baseball games in St. Louis is a tradition. It is a summer event, and now that the Cardinals are a winning ball club, it's even more fun to get out there. You're starting to see the crowds grow a little bit more, and when that happens, that means less seats are going to be available. So where do you go to find the seats that you want to see the teams that you want to see the Cardinals play against? Game Time app. Game Time app's where you go. It's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app, they actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. I got those second row tickets. If you saw them on Twitter, I took a picture, and seriously, the hottest day of the summer, it felt like, at Busch Stadium. It was extremely hot out there, but second row, there we were on the first base side, and I got those tickets on the Game Time app. Killer last minute deals, all in prices. You get views from your seat, and you get their lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, and the lowest price guaranteed is for you, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, which is LOCKEDONMLB, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and have to turn down the volume because of all the shouting? Then do the smart thing. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel, and it's programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. It brings you can't-miss analysis. You get opinions. You get the news. And it's streaming 24/7, so it's there no matter what your schedule is. It's also available on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. A reminder, you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Cardinals. So if the Cardinals decide to go after a bat at the trade deadline, which isn't out of the realm of possibilities. In a perfect world, you'd be able to put together either a starter or a bullpen arm, and you bring a bat along with them, and you make like this package deal, and then you kind of like do all your shopping in one spot. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. But if the Cardinals decide to get a bat, who are some of the names to keep an eye on, and who makes the most sense for this St. Louis Cardinals ball club? Now, I struggle with this because, barring an injury, I don't know where a lot of time is going to open up in the outfield. Like, you got Donnie, Newt, Ciani, Burley, Edman, Carlson. They're all still on the roster. I assume that it would spell the end of Brandon Crawford's time with the team if they were to add another bat. And I'd feel bad for the guy, but business is business. And you're going to take Tommy Edman over this version of Brandon Crawford all day, every day. It sucks. You hate to see his career end like that. Maybe he can go back to San Francisco. I don't know. But he's not doing a whole lot for this Cardinals roster. And when Tommy Edman gets back, he's the guy that can give you the outfield and the infield. Why would you still keep a left-handed bat who's, not very versatile, can play a little third, I guess, if you need it. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But if the Cardinals were to make a deal here are some names to think about. And I've been kind of scouring across the net, seeing who's talking about who. And I got a couple of names here. All right. The first one I want to talk about, and this is the guy that I'm slowly but surely kind of falling in love with as a good fit for the Cardinals. And that would be from the Los Angeles Angels, Kevin Pillar. All right. Kevin Pillar, 35-year-old right-handed hitter, has played for a lot of teams over his career. Started with Toronto, then the Giants, then the Red Sox, the Rockies, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Braves. This year, he was with the White Sox when the season started, got DFA'd. When former Cardinal Tommy Pham got signed, he got scooped up by the Angels after Mike Trout got hurt and has been really, really good for them. 43 games, And this was coming into yesterday when I went through these stats, so they might have altered a shade. But he's batting .295, 6 home runs, 26 RBIs, an OBP of 350, slugging .500, OPS of 850, OPS plus of 135. Yeah. And against lefties, which is what the Cardinals would use him for, he's batting .359, OBP 406, slugging .625, OPS 1.031, and the split OPS plus of 186. Now, he's not the defensive player that he used to be at age 35, but he doesn't kill you out there either. He's right around league average, and he can play all three spots. So Kevin Pillar is a guy that I just feel like would be a nice fit for the Cardinals. It just seems to make a lot of sense. Not going to cost you a lot. What are the Angels going to do with him? You know, like, if you're willing to give up a decent prospect to get him, why wouldn't the Angels be interested in that? You know? So he's a guy that he just makes a lot of sense, you know? And he's been around the block a few times, so he knows what it's like to get traded and move on to other teams. It just seems like he'd be able to fit that role that the Cardinals would have for him very, very nicely. Makes a lot of sense, checks a lot of boxes. And if you can pull a reliever or a starter like Tyler Anderson, if you can pull him over in the deal, great. That'd be a cool package to think about, right? Number 2 on the list. Now, this guy, I think a lot of people are going to be chasing after him, and that's the Oakland A's Brent Rooker. So the Oakland Slugger having another monster year for the A's. So the Cardinals aren't the only ones who would be eyeing him up for a deal at the deadline. I've seen the Phillies and the Braves as other teams that would love to get their hands on him. And as usual, it's hard to see the Cardinals outbidding one of those big boys for someone like Rooker. But you can see why they'd want him. Again, stats might have altered just a shade when I put this together, but hitting .282, 18 home runs, 55 ribbies, OBP 360, slugging 542, OPS 903. 158 OPS plus. He hits both lefties and righties very well against lefties. OPS at 168, righties 149. He's really just a DH. He can play the corner outfield spots if you need him to, but he's really more of a DH than anything. But that's a massive bat that you could stick in this lineup and make them even more dangerous. I mean, it's nice to see, you know, Nato and Goldie doing a little bit better, but they're just, I mean, what makes you think that they're all of a sudden just going to become dangerous hitters again in the second half of the season? Now, we've seen it before. A guy by the name of Albert Pujols. Remember what his last year in St. Louis? The first half, he was not very good. He was not very good at all. And then the second half, he just took off. So is that something that could happen? Yeah, it could happen with Goldschmidt and Arenado. They've got the pedigree. They've done it in the past before. Hopefully, that's something that does happen. But is it going to happen? Odds are probably against them. But, you know, Rooker is a name that to think about. But it would take a lot more to get him than it would, say, a Kevin Pillar, right? You know, you're going to have to give up a decent amount. In a perfect world, to be able to pull Rooker and get Mason Miller from the A's, bring them in. That would be wonderful. You'd have to give up quite the bag to land something like that. But that's more like fantasy talk than anything, because that's probably not going to happen. How about this? 2 former Cardinals that make sense. Fills a need for what the Cardinals are looking for. Tommy Pham and Randall Grichuk. I saw these two mentioned by Josh Jacobs on redbirdrants.com. And I'll be the first to admit, I love me some Tommy Pham. I love Tommy Pham. I've met him in person. I had a great time with the guy. And I love the kind of guy he is on the field, the attitude, the hard-nosed player that he is. You worry about how he's going to mesh with your ball club. That's what every team will tell you. You're worried that what if he rubs people the wrong way? I'd like to think that he'd fit in just fine in St. Louis. But it's certainly something that you got to consider. Like, is the sandpaper that he brings, is it the right sandpaper? Is it Lance Lynn type of sandpaper? Is it Matt Carpenter type of sandpaper that he's going to bring in, or is he going to be somebody who upsets the establishment a little too much? That you think about that. I look at what he did on the field, and he looked pretty darn good with the D-backs last year in their run of the World Series. Helped them out tremendously. Was a big piece of that puzzle. So somebody to think about, obviously. And then you got Randal Grichuk, another former Cardinal who, it feels like he was with the Cardinals a million years ago, doesn't it? But since the Cardinals traded him to the Blue Jays, by the way, does anyone remember who they got in return for Randal Grichuk? Just curious. Do you know? All right, you've had enough time to guess. Dominic Leone and Connor Green. Another not so great trade of a young outfielder by the St. Louis Cardinals. Why do they suck at this so bad? And I remember Dominic Leone was the guy. I don't even know what Connor Green ever did, but Leone at least was in the bullpen for a little bit, but I don't remember him being all that great. I could be wrong. But anyway, Grichuk has been with Toronto. He's been with Colorado, went back to the Angels, who the Cardinals got him from in the first place, and now he's with the Diamondbacks. This year, hitting 279, 3 dongs, 20 ribbies in a platoon role against lefties, 295 OPS, 792. The Diamondbacks are, right there in the wild card chase. So dumping someone like Grichuk, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But if they do fall out of contention and decide that that's not going to happen this year, then maybe Grichuk is somebody that becomes available. And I feel like the Cardinals would welcome him back. I don't remember him really being a problem when he was in St. Louis. You were always hoping because you saw the talent, the power that was there, the athleticism, and you were always hoping that, it would finally unlock and become a great player, not just a good ball player. He was going to be a great one, and it just never really happened, But times change, and now strikeouts are not as big a deal for some people. Not me. I still get annoyed by them, but Randal Grichuk as a role player makes sense. Like I said, I still like Kevin Pillar for this team. But what do you guys think? I need your opinions. I want to hear from you. Hit me up in the comments section down below on YouTube or on Twitter X. The Cubs are in town this weekend for 4 games. That's right. We get a doubleheader there. So got some great news about the pitching matchups and an injury that has happened to the Cubs that is going to probably make you smile as well. So we'll tell you all about it coming up next on Locked On Cardinals. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike the other apps that you might try on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. Now, if you get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the PrizePicks community, awesome. I think you're going to have a good time. And now you can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn 10 measly dollars. 10 measly dollars. What is that? A couple of cups of coffee at your favorite coffee shop? Turn that into $1,000. How about that? Get you something nice this summer. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week. They lower select player stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or you can get your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. So lots going on. Obviously, baseball-wise, we're going to hit the All-Star break after this weekend. So you've got these games to bet on and think about this weekend. Cubs, Cardinals, who's going to be hot, who's not. That's something you need to worry about, something you need to think about. PrizePicks is also available in more than 30 states across the country now, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On. Plus, you've got our national shows, which cover every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the Free Fire TV channels app. So the Cubs are here this weekend. We got a game tonight, we got 2 tomorrow, and we got another one on Sunday. So doubleheaders. It seems like we've had a few of those this year already, and they can be a little exhausting, to be honest. But the good news for the Cardinals is that the Cubs will not have their 2 best pitchers this weekend. They've already thrown. Shota Imanaga, Justin Steele, not going to be throwing against the Cardinals. That's good news. Imanaga shut down, and they pitched well recently too. Imanaga shut down the Orioles on Wednesday, and then Justin Steele did the exact same thing to him on Thursday. They beat Corbin Burns on Wednesday night, and they shut them out like seriously zeros on Thursday. So the Cubs just rolled over Baltimore, but that's good news, and the Cardinals have their top 4 guys ready to rock. You got Sonny Gray, who's going to throw tonight. You got Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson in the doubleheader on Saturday. Then Miles Michaelis wraps it up on Sunday before the All-Star break. So advantage Cardinals. More good news for the Cardinals. The Cubs will be without Cody Bellinger, who fractured a finger after getting hit by a pitch during the series with Baltimore. He's on the 10-day IL. He won't be there this weekend. So that's good news too. But, and this is where the balance comes in, the Cubs have still won 4 in a row. All of a sudden, the Cubs have gotten hot, and they're trying to hang on to their very slim hopes of becoming postseason relevant. Sometimes desperation can motivate teams, and I feel like the Cubs are a very desperate team right now. So the Cardinals need to be ready for these guys that are literally playing for their season right now. Because as they started to fall back, the Brewers haven't slowed down much. The Cardinals took off. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati are still kind of where they are, but they were losing a lot of ground quick. And they've started to climb out of that hole a little bit. And that's the last thing you want is a team that believes in itself coming into Busch Stadium. So it ain't going to be easy this weekend. And if things don't change in Chicago, major shakeup could be going down. They could trade Cody Bellinger. I was talking with Connor Thomas from Locked On Phillies the other day, and I've said since day one that the Phillies were the best team in Major League Baseball. I like them better than the Dodgers. I like them better than the Yankees and better than Baltimore. I've said it since day one, and you just saw them, beat up on the Dodgers. And I asked him who would be like if the Phillies go out and add somebody, who's like that guy that they could add that would make them virtually unstoppable. And his response was Cody Bellinger. And the reason why, and you're like, well, aren't the Phillies looking for a right-handed bat too? Well, here's the thing. Belly hits lefties better than he hits righties. It's weird. 323, in fact, compared to 239. So Cody Bellinger would be just sick in that lineup. They would have, think about it. Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Baum, Cody Bellinger, JT Realmuto's coming back soon, Bryson Stott, Nick Castellanos. And then you got your pitching staff with Wheeler and Nola, Suarez, Sanchez. Holy crap. And I've heard that they're interested in bringing Brent Rooker in, is another guy. Like, it would be unreal. Anyways, the Cardinals, let's get back to where we were. The Cardinals, they had a lot of momentum coming into Wednesday's games against the Royals. Looked like they were going to take game 1, watched it slip away. Game 2, take an early lead. Royals answered quickly. Pitching staff couldn't slow down their offense. They take the doubleheader. They sweep. The Royals are a good team. They are. I was very impressed by them. But as a Cardinal, I didn't like that. It didn't feel good. Left a bad taste in your mouth. So who better to take out all your aggression on than the Chicago Cubs this weekend? Let's hope it happens. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter, X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube, and help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.